There's an echo in your voice, Mr. Andrew.
I'm wondering from where.
Do you have two devices on?
Just that you're also echoing.
A mobile is on, but it's not a device. It's not set up on WhatsApp. Are we good? Set.
I'm set.
Yeah, we are live already.
Are you ready? Prof. Bola?
I'm ready, yes.
Good. So, Techno team, can we go live now?
Yeah, we are live already, sir.
Oh, good. So, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. You're welcome to this seminar, which is being organized by the Nigerian British Business Forum. The seminar is being broadcast live by YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and via Zoom. We're grateful and with the help being rendered to us from SIBA Technologies, who are assisting us in the online broadcast. The event this evening is a financial planning event. It's a seminar, and the whole point of the event is aimed at providing an insight into various aspects of financial planning, covering mortgages, life insurance, pensions, wills, and probate. Each of the distinguished speakers we have this evening will be speaking for 20 minutes, and they will talk about their various areas of expertise from their respective companies. Following their presentations, there'll be opportunities for our members to ask questions. We don't expect to spend more than an hour, 30 minutes. Thank you for joining us. I will introduce you to our distinguished speakers. The first person I'd like to introduce you to is Dr. Seun Oke. Dr. Seun Oke is an author, a coach, a speaker, a trainer, and a specialist in protection, insurance, and she's also a politician. She's one of the foremost self-leadership and confidence experts, and she has over 20 years experience in being a sales and marketing executive. She's the founder of Walk Like a Princess, an organization with the mission to raise the female economy of nations through the use of empowerment programs, seminars, and trainings to build the confidence of youths and women. She's a certified leadership coach with John Maxwell Global Team. She's a frequent speaker at business events, non-profit organizations, on TV and on radio. She's the author of the multi-award winning Supergirl to Superwoman, the ultimate guide to female leadership. She's the first Black female conservative parliamentarian candidate for Poplar and Limehouse constituency at the 2019 general election. She's a health and wellness ambassador and on a mission to help a minimum of 10,000 women to be body confident and become successful entrepreneurs. I could go on and on and on and on, but I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Seun Oke. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
The next speaker also will be Mr. Akini Arikawe. Mr. Akini Arikawe has 24 years experience in banking and in the financial services, both in Nigeria and in the United Kingdom. He's well experienced in relationship management and business development. He's currently the principal of Amiable Financial Services, a directly authorized firm by the FCA, providing wide range of financial advisory services, including all types of mortgages, insurance, equity release, development finance, among others. Akini is a seasoned professional and holds a master's degree in business administration from Ambrose Ali University in Nigeria, as well as a BSc in microbiology from Ogun State University in Nigeria. In addition, he has an advanced certificate in mortgage advice and practice and a certificate in financial services regulation and ethics from the London Institute of Banking and Finance. He also holds a certificate in regulated equity release, as well as a certificate in commercial mortgage from LIBF. Akini is an honorary senior member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, where he serves as the financial secretary of the UK branch. He is also a member of the London Institute of Banking and Finance. Mr. Arikawe, you are welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And also we have with us Mr. Akeju. Mr. Ade Akeju has been in the mortgage and real estate sector for over 30 years and is the managing director and principal advisor for Mortgage Financial Solutions Limited. The firm is regulated by the FCA. Over the years, he has encountered a range of mortgage situations, scenarios, and brings insight into the issues around mortgage provision in the United Kingdom. And finally, on behalf of J. Benson Solicitors, we have Mr. Akpan. Mr. Akpan, thank you for joining us. You're welcome. The housekeeping, the way it will run, will let the speakers speak about their various areas of expertise, and then we'll allow our members to ask questions immediately after that. So I'll invite, first of all, Dr. Oke to start for us, and we go on as we proceed as she finishes. Thank you very much. Dr. Oke, over to you.
Fantastic. Hey, let me know if you can hear me okay.
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. It's a pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone, wherever you're watching us from, online, right here in the Zoom room, or if you're watching this on the replay. I am a financial advisor with Unisure, and I'll tell you a little bit about me shortly. And thank you for that introduction. Yes, I wear a lot of hats, but what happened during the COVID actually opened my eyes to a lot of things that was not right in our community, especially when talking about our legacy. How many of us have actually gone through helping one or two people during the pandemic that actually lost a loved one, that had to do some GoFundMe contributions? A lot of that happened. I was a part of a lot of them, and I'm wondering what is going on. Why are these people that we see as very, highly placed, great jobs, doing very well, living in nice houses? Why do we have to go all this way to do GoFundMe, to bury them? And with my research, I started seeing things that were not right, and that's why I'm here to encourage you and open you as some of the things that, especially in the Black community, that we're not paying close attention to. Okay, all right. So, just from a point of being a mom, because I believe the family is everything. A family is why we also so hard to do what we're doing. We'll be talking today about you, your family, and protecting your legacy. So if you're on social media, on Facebook, you can connect with me at fb.me/P specialist. It's right there for you to see, at Dr. Seun Financials on Instagram, and the website, you can easily go there. Okay, so Here am I, financial advisor and business consultant, and this are my children. So I'm a mother of 3, and my husband right there. We're just going through a few things about talking about life, talking about having visuals and visualization of what we can do, how to make things better. Yeah, we have a lot of fun, and I do also do a lot in the community, just helping families protect what is the most important, joyful moments. Okay. All right, so I'm a wellness ambassador. I love to do wellness, and I have helped hundreds of people to have the right cover for their family. And just about a week ago was my 18th year wedding anniversary with my husband, and this has been it. So let's have a quick look at this. That life is a game, right? So everybody, there are 2 important dates in our lives. The first important date is our date of birth, all right? And the second important date is our date of death. Everybody, if I ask you now, you know your date of birth. Everybody knows that. But nobody knows the date of death. And in between the date of birth and the date of death is life, all right? So life is going to be long, and I pray that you have a long life. And because our life is long, we have a lot of eventful activities that happen. So illnesses do happen along the way. We've got to plan for children's education. We also plan about our retirement. And a lot of important things that especially our community are really, really not looking at is planning for death. All right. So here are some facts that I want you to take note of. There are over 53 critical illnesses that could happen to any of us. 1 out of every 2 people that you know today will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime, and that's statistics. You can search it up. It is real. Cancer figures among the leading cause is among the leading cause of death worldwide. In fact, it accounts to 9.6 million deaths in 2018. Lung, colorectal, stomach, liver, breast cancer is very, very predominant in women, causes the most cancer deaths each year. The most frequent types of cancer differ between men and women, and I'm going to be sharing my personal story with you and why I say that life is long and there's so many events, and why we need to plan for all these events so that we don't get caught in between. About 1/3 of cancer deaths are due to 5 leading behavioral dietary risks, and I want you to pay close attention here. 1, high body mass index, very, very prevalent in our community. Low fruit and vegetable intake. I know you can, by the time you start taking note of your own nutrition, you are ticking some of the boxes. Physical inactivity. We think we are too old to be physically active. Tobacco use, alcohol use, and all of these things are actually preventable. Now, check out this figure. You get, if you were to be critically ill in the UK today, there's a statutory sick pay that you get, which is £96.35. That's, let's say, approximately £100 per week. How many of us can live comfortably on £400 per month? And this, if you actually took ill, it doesn't look too good, does it? All right, so the question I'm going to ask you is, we also had every single day you go to work, you come back, at times you're tired, at times you're underpaid. Why do we all work so hard? For some of us, we want to create great life for our family. We want to live well. You've gone to university. Yes, I've got 2 degrees and 7 certifications, including being FCA certified to be a financial advisor. The question is, in all of these things, we also will do that. We want to live in nice homes, send our children to nice schools, have lovely, beautiful cars to ride. Okay, now look at this. Within a community, we do work very, very hard, but are we working smart like our other counterparts? Here are some statistics that I'm going to show to you again. Median total wealth for all households in Great Britain was 286,600 between April 2016 and March 2018, with median ranging from 34,000 among those with household head from Black African group. Check that. and compared to 314,000 in the white British group. And I'm going to be unpacking some of the things that they are doing that we have not really gotten into, that we need to start sorting out right now. Can you see the disparity between the 34,000, which is less than 50K, and 314,000 on the same household, Black African household and the Caucasian household? Now hear this. There were statistically significant differences in wealth by ethnicity of the household head, even after adjustment for a range of household characteristics, including age, household composition, with largest differences estimated between the white British reference group and the Pakistani and the Black African groups. I'm going to share this last one. The percentage of household financial debts that exceed the financial assets was highest for the Black African and other Asian groups, both 44%, and twice as likely for these households compared with the white British group. This is the statistics that we are dealing with right now, okay? Because there are some things maybe that we were not privy to. Okay, I was not born in the United Kingdom. I came into the United Kingdom about 11 years ago. And funny enough, myself and Mr. Niyarika were colleagues in the banking sector right in Nigeria. So it's amazing to meet up here again. And we had a very, very comfortable life. But when I looked at what I wanted for my children, I left all my comfort to start over in the United Kingdom because I was looking at something. So for some of you that are watching us today, there is a reason you are in the United Kingdom or wherever you are, because you want your family to live well. And you don't just want to have everything go after you. You want to leave something behind for them. All right. So I'm just going to continue with sharing this. I want to also have a heart-to-heart talk. All right. So here we are in a community. Wealth is really, really reduced because we do not do some certain things. And I'll be sharing with you some of the things that you need to put in place that's going to help you to be a better person and to create a new narrative for our generation, especially the Black community. All right, so ask the question, why do we need, let's talk about life insurance. I have had amazing conversations with a lot of people, and the first thing that comes up is, I think by having a life insurance is just a waste of money. I'm not going to die. And if I do, why would I want to take life insurance? I don't want to die now. It's as if it's a jinx. If I do a life insurance, as if I'm preparing to die. Unfortunately, that is not the way it is. So why do we take on life insurances? One, to protect your loved ones that you're working so hard to take care of. Just imagine if anything had to happen to you today, will they be able to have the same level of comfort that you're able to provide for them while you're around? Would they be able to go to the right school that you wanted to go to? Would they be able to live in the sort of house? Would they be able to maintain the level of affluence that you can provide for them because you are actively in work? So we take our life insurance to protect our loved ones. Two, to pay off debts. You see the statistics earlier on that most of the Black African groups leave debt that leave their loved ones in a lot of mess or in a lot of heartache, because there are two losses right now. They just lost a loved one and they are mourning, and then they had to hustle around to pay debt. Number three, to leave inheritance and create generational wealth. See, if I were to ask you today, how many of us actually have £100,000 or £200,000 sitting in an account right now to say, if anything happens to me, this goes to my family? Very, very few do have that. However, if you take on the right life insurances, you know that you have access to future money right now because you're taking the right decision right now. To prepare ahead of inheritance tax, and I'm going to be unpacking what inheritance tax is today, because I've seen that according to some of the conversations that I've had with some of the people that I've consulted for, this is one thing that people are not paying close attention to. Do you know that your inheritance that you're leaving for your children may be too expensive for them to take a hold for? And I'll be able to show you in the next slide. And taking out life insurance actually gives you a peace of mind that you have taken care of what needs to be taken care of. So let's talk about inheritance tax, which is law in the UK. In fact, in the United Kingdom today, inheritance tax is 40%. There's a base amount that's called nil rate band that you don't need to pay anything on. So let's say, for example, your estate is £1 million, right? £325,000 out of that, you do not need to pay inheritance tax on. Remember that we're talking about wealth and protecting our generational wealth. One good way for you to do that is to have the right life insurance. So for here, inheritance tax between 2021 is 325,000 for NRB, all right? And it is 40%, all right, that you need to pay. Okay, so let's say, for example, your estate is what, $1 million, because I really want you to build something for your family. So as your investment, your shares, your house, everything will be valued, okay? And when you pass on, obviously, you're not working to eat everything. You're working on so that your children will have to start on sub-zero like you started. I imagine if my father had $1 million to pass on to me, oh my goodness, I wouldn't have had to hustle too much again. And it would have been, my children would have even started from on top of my shoulder. So we'll be talking more about that. So for example, so I'm showing you some of the workings here. So you have your estate as what, £1 million in the United Kingdom. Your NRB, 325,000 days, no need for any tax on that. However, you have £675,000 that your family needs to pay 40% of. So the beautiful thing that you're working hard for, the gold that you have, the silver that you have, all the investment, all the property portfolio that you have, everything will be summed up together, all right? And your family will have to look for 270,000 to pay the government before they can take charge of what you're giving to them. The question is, whatever you're giving back to your family, will they be able to afford it? So I'm going to come back to this. That life is called, the game called life. So you know your date of birth, but you do not know the date of death. And in between, life happens. Our life is long, however, eventful things happen. So illnesses happen. You never planned for them at times, but they do happen. Nobody saw COVID coming. In fact, nobody saw it coming. Do you know that our community, Black community in the United Kingdom, was really hard hit and we were totally unprepared for it, right? And that's one of the reasons I'm passionate about doing what I'm doing. And I'll share my personal story with you on this. Children's education needs to be planned for, retirement needs to be planned for, and death needs to be planned for. Here are my parents, all right? So that was me at my introduction when I was going to get married about 18 years ago. And that's my dad looking at his lovely first child right there, and my mom. Okay, both of them have gone to be with the Lord. We did not plan for them to die like that. I lost my dad to prostate cancer. He was just 61 years old. He was so full of life, all right? And this man, he invested in lots of my cousins, sending over 10 of them to university, just investing, knowing that when you invest in people, when our own time comes, yes, these people should be able to sort us out. In fact, it's not quite happen like that, all right? Because by the time we were of university age, it wasn't as buoyant financially as it was, but he did not plan that it was going to die that young. Prostate cancer took him away. We did not plan for it. The question is, if anything happens to you today, what's going to happen to your family? And my mom, I was just preparing for her 60th birthday when she went away to, yes, some medical malpractice in Nigeria, and she's gone. She did not live to be 60 years. And here they are full of life right here. So life events happen. So what do I do? And why am I passionate about this? You need to plan for the eventualities. And one other thing that really makes people not do anything about their life insurance or income, protect their income, is because they think it is expensive. See, planning your insurance and having a conversation with me, we will look through your life, your life goings, your lifestyle, what your gross income is, and we'll be able to determine the best package for you. As little as £10 can actually lock in a good. Okay, look, let me give you a particular example. My son is going to be 18 years old, and I just had this insurance sorted out. The beautiful thing is, when they are young, it's super cheap. All right, for £140,000, I didn't have to pay more than £10.15 for his monthly premium. It's as little as that. It's covered him up to age 67, and it will also extend, with other things. If he's going to take out more, he can easily decide to do that when he starts working. But that one is locked in for him. I've given him that he can pass on to his generation. 140,000 is a good way to start a business if he were to pass that on to his children. We have income protection, all your home insurance, critical illness cover, private medical, Do you know that the waiting list for to see a physician now is so long? At times, they actually say you may not be able to get to see a consultant for almost like 2 years, especially when you have cancer or you have issues that need to be dealt with quickly. Private medical gives you access to the best medical practice at the right time without you having to have a long wait. Business loans and invoice financing, mortgages. You can tap into my relationship with over 100 insurance companies to give you access to the best deals at affordable pricing. Check that out. I said affordable pricing. Okay, so don't be afraid. And here it is. There's a danger out there. Are you going to be selfish and you're going to, you know what, I can't be bothered. You know, my children will sort out themselves. By the time they'll be old enough, they'll sort themselves out. Or are you going to be selfless and plan for the next generation? And let us correct that statistics that says that most Black households leave debts and never any positive thing or generational wealth to pass on to their families. And the beautiful way to do that, I'm going to share that with you, is to have your life insurance. So you will inherit me as your financial advisor. Right? I help successful individuals gain access to the best advice-based insurance packages that saves them money and headaches in the UK market. So what I want you to do right now is text NBBF consult to that number showing there, and I'll book you in, even if you have an insurance in place already. So there's quite a lot of us that have actually been missold some packages, because I understand our community and because I understand where we need all those disclosures that we need to have. I'm going to be able to work with you, review what you have, and be able to get to something that covers you appropriately without you having to just keep paying your premiums without having anything for you to claim. I say to people, there is no point just paying the insurance company without you taking the right cover. And I'm going to share this with you. Please, those are my social media, connect with me on there, but you want to text right now, right? Let me help you. Let me show you what you can put in place for your family, for your wealth generator, for your wealth, for the wealth transfer that we need to start planning for, and stop being selfish with our earnings. With as little as £10, £20, even £40, you can have something solid going to the next generation after you're gone. And income protection and critical illness cover actually covers you while you are here. All right. So I'm going to be taking some questions after this, and I just want to share this with you. So there's one of my clients okay, she told me I already have a life insurance, and I just wanted to share this real with you. Said, I have a life insurance in place. Okay, so tell me about it. So I said, don't worry, I'll give you a free review, because I'm not going to charge you for that. You might as well use it, because this is my passion. I want to help you. So she said to me, Tina, I have £300,000, and I said, when does the term end? He said 60 years. I said, okay, all right. So after when you're 60 years, so what happens? I said, nothing. I said, so do you know there's no return of premium? And I'll be explaining all of that, because you can ask questions after. Do you know there's no return of premium in the United Kingdom? It's just like car insurance. If you don't, if your term ends, it ends, and you are still alive, there's nothing. So when you're now 60 years, you can no longer take a cover. Your children are still not up to even 25 years, because we've already, fantastic. So please keep texting to that number, NBBF consult, and I'll be giving you free consultation. All right. So I said to her, so what happens when you're 60 years? And by the time we started looking at it, and I explained some of the things that she needed to do, we repackaged it. She's still not paying more than what she was paying, but now with a more, with better structure, she's covered up to 70, and I've also actually extended it to what we call a whole of life. When we have a conversation, we'll know, so that you know that when you're paying up a premium, there is reason for you to claim for your family, so you're not just wasting money. So there are different things that we need to look at. So what are the things that affect your premiums? And anybody can, as long as you're 16 years plus, you can have insurance. And the earlier you take it, the cheaper it is. So let's start planning right now. So for this particular person, we'll repackage this. So if you already have a life insurance, it's fine. And I'll say congratulations, because you are one of the 5% good ones. So yay! But if you have it, let me help you check it to see you have the right cover. If it's okay, I'll give a tick and say, yes, well done. If it's not, we'll make sure that we'll redo it so that you have the right cover. It is better for you to have little cover than no cover. There was another conversation I had, and someone told me, oh, the only cover I want is £1 million. I say, it's fine, but there's a science to determine how much life insurance you should take. All right. It covers your debt. So if you have a particular debt, maybe you have your mortgage. I know we are going to be hearing about mortgages very, very soon. If you have a mortgage, in fact, I think most lenders insist on you having life insurance to cover that mortgage, because it's not as if they are concerned about your family. They are concerned that if anything happens to you, they've got to have the money back. All right. So if you take a life insurance for mortgage, that is paying your mortgage. It's not still giving anything to your family. And if there are different things for you to take into consideration. Maybe you're paying interest only, or you're paying repayments. That's going to determine the sort of life insurance that you take. But for all of this, I'll be happy to have your questions afterwards. But go ahead and book your free consultation, because you have nothing to lose. But I want to say, do not be selfish. It hurts my heart that my parents died early. I never planned for it. They did not plan for it. So no, they did not leave me in the generational wealth. so I'm making sure that that does not happen to my children. They are fantastic parents. I tell you, they're fantastic. But they didn't have the sort of knowledge that I have now. And that's why I'm passing this on to you. Please, let's plan for the beautiful children that we have. Let's plan for the charity that we love, because even if you don't have children, you can leave something for your charity. It allows your name to keep going there. And don't leave debts. Don't be in that position where we have to go do GoFundMe to bury you. All of these things your life insurance can cover. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shewuke. Thank you very much. That was a professional presentation. I'm sure there are questions already coming up on your link, and I'm sure you'll be able to answer all those questions immediately during the question and answer session. First of all, I'd like to apologize. I didn't give the opportunity for the program producer, Pastor Afolabi Andu, to make an introduction of this program, but we'll be giving him the opportunity soon after the question and answer session. The next speaker that I will call on now is Mr. Niyarikawe. Mr. Niyarikawe, I hope you're ready to take your 20 minutes. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for this platform. Thank you, Mr. Andu, for organizing this together on NBBF. I'm not sure whether you can still see me. It says stop video by the host. I'm trying to share my screen right now. I hope we can see the screen.
We can see you. We can see your screen.
I'm just finished with it. All right. Yeah. Good afternoon once again. My name is Niyarikawe, and I'm the principal of Amiable Financial Services. What we do at Amiable Financial Services is we cover all aspects of mortgages and protection. A little bit about our firm. As a background, I've been in financial services for over 24 years right now. That's lived all my life in financial services, and that's what we do. We are directly authorized by the FCA to do mortgages, to do insurance, to do practically most aspects of financial services, and that's what we do on a daily basis, covering all aspects of mortgages, different types. It could be buy-to-let, it could be residential. And whether you live here or you don't live here, whether you live in the UK or live outside the UK, that's part of what we do on a daily basis. We have access to the entire market in the UK when it comes to mortgages and insurance. And for mortgages, for most people, what we're used to, we know the high street, the likes of the Barclays, the Halifax of this world, the Nationwide, the NatWest, the Lloyds, the HSBC. But outside that, there are hundreds of lenders in which you can have access to, which we do, the land with the land invest, they are called the players of this world. So what we do primarily in the mortgage world is to have access to the whole of the market. And we will hold your hand from beginning, to the end in terms of, whether you're a first-time buyer or whether you already have a property in which you want to scale up, we can help you to scale up. We can help you to do, develop your portfolio, whether as an individual or as a limited company. That's what we do in terms of mortgages. And also, some people don't live here. Maybe they are British national working abroad. So in terms of your eligibility, whether you're an expert, we have helped clients that are abroad currently working to invest, in the UK property market. So I don't know where you're watching from today, whether it's outside the UK and you're British national, you're thinking of, oh, how can I take advantage, of the UK property market? It's part of what, we can actually do on a daily basis. What we do is get money for you to either buy your property or buy a business, because we also do commercial mortgages too. Just this week, we're trying to help a client, to buy a farmers. That's part of what we do on a daily basis. So it could be residential, where you live in, it could buy to let for investment. It could be commercial, to go, to buy a business. Like I said, we just asking somebody, trying to, buy, a farmers. That's part of what we do. So we'll advise you, we'll recommend, and take your journey through from beginning to the end of your mortgage cycle. And we'll also work with you, tailor it down, to your circumstances, whether in terms of affordability, in terms of what you can afford, or in terms of your eligibility, whether you're a first-time buyer or whether you've just started a business, just have 1 year account, or whether you don't even have an indefinite leave to remain in the UK, whether you're on a work permit, on a tier 2 visa. I've seen this a lot where a lot of people in our community, maybe just in the UK, and they're just joining their way into having indefinite leave to remain. So there are various criteria, in which people find. So what we do is we'll allay your fears, and help you, and we'll help. Just last week, we were talking to, a medical doctor who's just been here she came in exactly 2018. I know we can start with a mortgage. So some people believe that they don't have the indefinite to remain, they can't get a mortgage. That's not correct. There are lenders that will look at such things. So what we do is to look at you and tell your case, like I said again, as a firm, we are directly authorized by the FCA, so there is no attachment, in terms of any lender. We look at you, look at your circumstances, and tailor, to the right lender. Also, we look at it even based on your credit profile. Whether you have some blips on your credit report, it could be an adverse, it could be a CCJ, it could be a default, it could be some missed payments. The fact that you have an adverse on your credit report doesn't mean that you can't get a mortgage. We have lenders that will look at each circumstances based on your profile. This is what we'll do. This is part of what we're going to help you, on a daily basis. So mortgages, insurance is what we do, every day. Also, secure loans. Some people, what they want to do just to come and get a second charge, a secure loan on their property, which means you have an existing mortgage and you want somebody else to kind of lend you money to do some other things. But I will do also bridging finance, we'll do that too, regularly. Commercial mortgages, like I said earlier, we'll do that regularly, and coming to, protection, just like what I've been talking about, either family or business, we look at, helping to have the right protection for your family. So like I said again, I talked about, just to highlight to you, credit rating. This is something that I've seen a lot that some people don't want to talk about at all, and what we'll do, we'll get this every day to do a free review of your credit report for you, because this is where everything starts from for a mortgage. It's your credit rating. And lenders, this will influence, whether you will lend at all in the first place, how much they give to you, what loan to value size you get, what price you get from a lender. So our advice, that you have a credit report. And we do a free check for that for people, give us a call. I will share my contact later to sit down and look at your credit rating. I had a client, that is a lot anyway, they are referred to us and they say, you know what, I don't think I can have a mortgage, but each case on its own merit. So credit report is very key. Look at your report, even if there are things there are things in which, you can do we can discuss with you to help you to improve your credit score, because this again, it's what lender will use to decide whether to lend to you, whether the rate will charge you, and like I said again, what loan to value you will get from a lender. So advise to check your credit score. I will just run quickly to say, just as I talk about, because this is key, to help you to get a mortgage. And we can talk more when you contact us, but things can do to help it kind of, improve your score, like being on the electoral roll is very, very fundamental, very key. Avoid payday loans. Look for any mistakes in your report. Things as tiny as date of birth can cause a problem on your credit score. Look at what things that are quite unusual. Maintaining, a low credit utilization. These are things that we'll see people where, like I said again, because this is where the key is about the mortgage, that they come to us, we see them down. I get reports, practically loads every day that we'll talk to people about in terms of structuring them. Remember, we'll hold your hand and walk you through your circumstances, be it on your affordability, be it on your eligibility, and be it on your credit profile to assist you in getting, your mortgage, and always plan ahead. Do not apply for too much credit at the same time. That's very key when it comes to a mortgage. Again, I've seen cases where, people come to us and say, you know what, I've been to this development, they forced me to use their advisor, and I have a problem. It's not very compulsory. I know sometimes we'll do it, but you have the option, to discuss with your own independent advisor in helping you, to get a mortgage. And this is what we do to assist you. And talking about protection, insurance, it's very, very key. Like Seun said earlier, it's very, very, very fundamental to protect, what you have. And for me, why do I talk about protection? And again, when I talk about protection or insurance, people think of the bad thing. No, this is part of financial management. And again, what we do is to help you look at the circumstances, whether right now, what you have is in an ideal world or in an alternate situation. And just think about it really, as you all sit here listening this afternoon or this evening, wherever you are logging in from, across the world. Think about it really, most of us protect a lot of things. For example, if you have a system or a software at home, where every month that software gives you £10,000 cash every month when you press it, definitely you will ensure that thing is insured or is protected. And that thing, that software, that system is yourself. So protection is very, very key. And why do you need it? If the law says you must have it, you must have it, for example, car insurance. Or secondly, and if that will happen to you, which you can't afford to bear the loss alone. Or thirdly, something happens to you and those who are dependent on you, need some financial support. This is what protection will do for you. And again, on protection, we are whole of the market for all these products. We are whole of the market for life cover, for critical illness cover, which are lump sum payments. Just giving you a story, I had a friend, a GP, does locum, I know him very well. And they were talking about protection, but he never liked it. And I said, look, you are self-employed, no income protection. What will you do in the event of unexpected? And he said, you know what? I mean, he has well over 100,000. He said, I don't need it. But one day he called me and said, okay, let's even do this protection. Did him a life cover and did him an income protection. You won't believe A year after the income protection, he broke his right leg. That testimony is on our website, you can see it today. And that policy paid him for about 6 to 9 months before he went back to work. So the question is, when the unexpected happens, what do you do? If there's a situation that happens to you, and people that are dependent on you can't bear the loss, what happens? This is where protection comes in. And for the life cover, what was to help you to do, once we did for you, so help you put in a trust. That trust, we ring fence it outside your estate. She talked about inheritance tax, so that we take it out of the estate so that it's shielded from the tax. For lump sum payment, life cover, critical illness cover, income protection to protect, like I said, you are the software that produces every month. So this is what we'll do. We'll sit you down again, look at the circumstances. If you have something currently, what do you have? Do you even know what you have? What will it even do for you? This again is what we'll do as a free health check and recommend to you what exactly is ideal for you and not an alternative word. Again, like I said, we are all over the market and right authorized, to do protection. Business protection, again, just as you have, for personal, you have a business. Just this afternoon, like I said, a client that was buying in the pharmacy, we just set them up, a business protection, for the loan they're taking to buy the pharmacy. Primary medical insurance, after the lifesaver policy, again, to bridge the gap of waiting for the NHS with all this happening right now, because your GP, it takes almost over a month or 2 months to get a GP appointment. Building insurance, and there are other variations right now, again, which you have access to. Some providers, some will encourage you. If you live a healthy lifestyle, you'll get some perks, from the policy. Your premium comes down gradually. Some again have some elements, of like a private insurance to the policy that will give you some protection of some treatment across the world. Some have some things extra like fracture cover. So all these variations, again, it's available on our panel, which we discuss with you. Again, tailor it to what you need, and on a pure life cover or on a whole of life cover. This again are part of what I would do on a daily basis. So the key question here, like I always say, is ask yourself: do you have the best mortgage rate right now? Rates have been crashing, coming down. Yesterday we had rates coming down. Today again, some rates are coming down. In fact, just today, a lender is doing a rate below 1% on a 2-year fixed, starting from next month, below 1%, 0.95. Things, rates are good. So do you have the best rate right now in terms of mortgage? Are you paying too much every month? Have you reviewed, what you're paying? When is your next mortgage due? You want us to have a chat and look at that? Do you need to even look at some loan consolidation, on what you have right now and put them out, everything in one pot? Do you want to become a first-time buyer? Have you been thinking about it? There are various schemes, the government is doing, help to buy, right to buy, shared ownership, if you can't buy the whole property, even there's something called help to build coming up surely right now. So there are various schemes that you can talk about, to become a first-time buyer. Do you have adverse credit problems? It wouldn't stop you from getting a mortgage. It all depends on, what the decision is and which you can sit down and look at that for you. Do you need a commercial loan to buy, premise? Like I said, somebody, just 2 days ago, again, we had an inquiry for someone who wants to buy an hotel. Last week was someone who wants to buy a business, premises. So commercial, again, doing the commercial loan. Do you have enough family protection? What you have right now, is it adequate? When there are 2 wards, is it an ideal ward, or is it, an alternate ward for your protection? Do you want to build a property portfolio and find out more about bachelor mortgages, either through your personal name or through a purpose vehicle? These are things that we can assist you with. Do you need building and content insurance? Do you have enough income protection? Are you self-employed? What will happen in the event of incapacitation? What would you do? Do you qualify for a right to buy? if you're living in a council apartment, you're a public sector, other council apartments, or some as an association, you could be entitled to a right to buy, after 3 years, and it comes with a discount. So these are things that some people don't know, and you can see, talk to us, and we can, guide you rightly. The key thing I would do is to hold your hand from beginning right to the end. Or you want to discuss any area of your financial circumstances, for your mortgage, or to your commitments, or to improve your credit profile, or looking at what is the best way, in terms of setting up your first mortgage, like I said again, or do you have one to remortgage? You want to take advantage of an equity from your property and scale, and go into a property investment, any area of your financial circumstances, or do you want to do, get, some commercial mortgage, commercial loan to business. This is what we do, and this is what I can assist you with. That's my contact, that's my telephone number, and that's my email address. Our website is amiablefs.com. Email is akin.arika@amiablefs.com. LinkedIn and Instagram page. So, it's a one-stop shop for all your financial inquiries. We're a bridge to so many places. And what we strive to do is to create a solution, to our client's mortgage and protection situation with an absolute commitment to quality and excellence. And that's what we'll do for you at Amiable Financial Services. Thank you very much, and I will take questions after I finish. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arikawi, for that very professional presentation. I'm sure there'll be questions after this. Once again, thank you for your contribution. I'll now call on our next speaker, Mr. Ade Akeju of the Mortgage Financial Solutions Limited. Mr. Akeju, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Moderator, thank you very much. Prince Afolabi Andu. It's always good to be part of these events. I want to thank everybody for taking time out to hear this out. I also want to thank the first two speakers who have gone before. I think between them, you have covered the whole market. I think there's no question left to answer. And I think I want to thank you for that professional delivery. My name is Ade Akeju, and I've been in this sector for 30 odd years. My career has spanned financial services. We used to knock on doors to sell insurance in those days, right through to real estate agency, had a couple of estate agencies. We've been involved in housing development and mortgages all through. And to tell the truth, I'm not sure there's any kind of mortgage scenario that we have not come across. It has been a learning process. And so today I want to not so much talk about the specifics about the mortgages, but I want to look at our attitude and our understanding of what mortgages can do for us in respect of financial planning. A few times over the years, a few friends and I would discuss and would say, wow, if we had understood what a mortgage can do, we'll be billionaires today. And I think it is important to understand that the mortgage itself is not the objective. It is just a tool to achieve that objective. So it's important to, and I say to clients when they come to talk about what they want to do, how I want to do this because my friend is doing this, I like this idea. And I start by saying, well, it almost doesn't matter how we achieve this objective. Let us first be clear what is the objective. Because at the end of the day, the solution you end up with is important to the extent to which it can achieve that objective. And those who are looking to mortgage would be looking at a number of scenarios, and we have what they call the mortgage life cycle, if you like. The first-time buyer who started, the single person who buys the property, he gets married, he starts to have children, he retires, and then he's now becoming bank of mom and dad. So there are many instances and scenarios where we would need a mortgage, and it's important to understand for each stage why we want it. Because sometimes you can start out and say, well, I want to buy this property. You want to buy a 3-bedroom property, but in the end, you might have to buy that 1-bedroom first and plan to scale up. So my thinking is that we need to focus on mortgages from the point of view of what we are trying to do. The other point I want to touch on briefly is the way the market has changed. And this is very, very important for clients to have this understanding. In those days, we used to write mortgage offers from the office. You speak to the guy, he will tell you how much you need, he will write it. Days even before Experian and Equifax. In those days, you could take on a mortgage and the accountant would just write a letter that I know you, in days of self-cert. But the market has evolved so much, and we need to understand as the beneficiaries of that sector how the market is thinking and how that situation helps what we are trying to do. For example, this credit file issue that my brother referred to, it wasn't a big deal in those days. But today, if your credit situation is not appropriate, you are excluded from maybe a portion of that market instantly. So that understanding of what your own circumstance is, vis-a-vis your objective, is very important. For lenders these days, it is so much more about the affordability. As FC regulated providers, we have to give what we call best advice. We have had clients come to us and say, look, I need to buy this property. I need to buy it at this price. But the reality is that when you work it out, the guy has to understand that, look, this is not for me today. I need to go back to the drawing board and look at it. So that market is now a lot more open. There's nothing about what you have that is hidden anymore. In fact, very soon, the banks have started talking about it, but it's going to become compulsory, what they call open banking. Very soon, you won't even need to send your tax return or even your proof of income. Just by putting your name and your national insurance number, the lenders can see all they want to see. So clients need to be careful about trying to present what is not the case. The ideal thing is to get a proper sense of your circumstance and find the lender that suits that. And I think the way to look at mortgages, like I said, is as a tool for financial planning. Historically, and this is one of the problems we have in our country today, why we are probably the poverty capital of the world, we do not understand the value that mortgages bring to society. Mortgages and housing are a key stage, a key aspect of wealth creation. I'm sure on this forum there are many millionaires and billionaires, but how many of them have really worked for that money? The reality is that that money has come from using a mortgage to get onto that property ladder. So I want us to start thinking about the opportunity that mortgages present. Yes, you can rent a place, and a mortgage is not for everybody, and not for everybody at different times. There are some people for whom it is correct, they take a rental. There are some people, but the reality is that we need to start focusing on using the mortgages properly, scaling up. I mean, we're fortunate in my own circumstance. I can argue that I live rent-free, mortgage-free, because it is the income from other assets that are paying for the mortgage. And what we're trying to do about this life cycle, mortgage life cycle that I talk about, is that as we go into this, as we try to use mortgages to do what we're doing, we have to be thinking in a sustainable manner. This mortgage I'm about to take, this objective I'm about to satisfy, where does that place me in 5 years' time? We've had people now, clients coming to us who have bought their property many years ago and on an interest-only basis. All of a sudden, they have 4 years to go, 3 years to go, 5 years to go. And many of them thought they would have moved to Nigeria by now, but in reality, we're still here. So that's planning. You have to be thinking about it. For those people, for example, they have to be thinking now, I have this asset, the mortgage is going to run out in 3-4 years. What am I doing? And in asking that question, it's not just pick the first thing that comes. You need to take a step back and say to yourself, where am I expecting to be in so many years' time? So the two main types of mortgage users are the person who is buying the house as a home, but there's also the investor, and that is the buy-to-let investor market. And it's important that we think of both together. There are people today who are sitting on assets, but they are cash strapped. They're struggling to meet their commitments. You are not using that asset well. So it is about not necessarily just the mortgage per se, it is about looking at your whole financial structure. What does the role of the asset you have, this income that I'm getting from it is enough? People are beginning to now say, I have a lot of equity in my house. I have a house, 500,000. I only owe 150K mortgage on it, and that is the only house I have. But if I don't go to work in 1 month, I have a problem. So as part of that planning, you start thinking about that pension. And I always use my dad as an example. He's been retired for 35 years, and he has been living on his rent in 35 years. So we need to start thinking when we're looking about how to use mortgages and even all these protection financial tools, how it is impacting on our planning. So that, for example, you may be wanting to raise equity out of your property to buy another property as a buy-to-let. And that property, the purpose of that is not because you just like the idea of owning a house, but that asset already creates an income stream for you. It may be very well that I want to buy the house in 10, 15 years time, I'm going to sell the house and I'm buying it for that income. So I want us to get thinking about mortgages for what they really should be. We are on the cusp of great opportunity here. And for every situation, there is still a case to plan and replan. We fortunately now the market is so much more open, and there's a lot more providers in the market. Like my colleague said, I always say there's no situation that cannot get a mortgage. It's a question of knowing what kind of mortgage and where you go. In some instances, for that objective, it may mean that it would cost you more in the short term. So I want us to look at that sector again. For those of us who are sitting on assets, for those of us, my daughter is telling me now, Dad, I'm coming to the bank for mom and dad for that house I want to buy. A lot of us are coming to that situation where we're now saying, okay, we want to give them some 40, 50K. Where is it coming from? Even the children themselves who are starting out in life, Dr. Oki was saying that she's already taken out a policy for a 10-year-old child. Some of these are children are beginning to earn 30, 40,000. There are many schemes out there. So we must be looking at mortgages as a tool. And what I want to say to people is that we must always be driven by the objective. There is no one size fits all. People come to us and say, this person got a mortgage, is paying so much. Everybody's circumstance is different. Where you're going, where you're coming from, what you need to do are different. So it's important to get this advice right. So I think that we have a great opportunity here with mortgages. I think that we need to understand that the lenders are protecting themselves. We have to, like I said, we have to give best advice, and we have to be sure that whoever is taking a mortgage can afford it. And it's important that the clients to themselves can afford it. When clients come to see us, they say, I'm giving them too much information. And I say, no, sir, no, ma. By the time you finish this transaction, you should be an expert in what this mortgage does, because it is a liability you're taking on, and you need to understand where it fits into your own life plan. We are there to support. We're there to guide. Mortgage Financial Solutions, let me try and show who we are. We are appointed representatives of Connect IFA, who are authorized and regulated by the Financial Service Authority. We have about over 150 lenders on our panel. We package for a few ourselves, and we will go through that process with you from beginning to the end. The first stage of every mortgage application is always the most difficult. And people say, be quick, be quick, be quick. And I say, no, we need to first understand where we are going. The mortgage application these days is almost administrative. It is the thinking and the structuring that you do from the beginning that shapes it. And lenders these days would give you a decision in principle before you even give a full application. And I think that is a learning they have had too, that there's no point drawing an application to the end and find out that we cannot proceed. So that first stage is always very important. First, you need to understand what your exact situation is. There's no point telling us that, telling us 3/4 of the story, and then down the line we find out that, but you didn't tell us about this because the system will pick it up. Even the kind of debt you have, we've had clients who say, look, we've had clients who have had to wait 6 months and clear a particular debt because yes, they could have got a mortgage for where they are, but the affordability of that would impact their own lifestyle a little while down the line. So they're better off saying, clear this debt and come back. And this is what we as mortgage advisors do to help you think through where you're going, to help you look at the best way to do it. And that way, what you end up with, even if it's not what you set out with, you are usually comfortable and happy with it because you know that you are in that position for a reason. We are hoping, the kind of activity we have in this country, some of us have started, looking at that Nigerian market because all of a sudden the whole of Nigeria is sitting on a gold mine, 200 million people, and there's no mortgage instrument. And I think, I know that Mr. Arika and myself have touched on this a few times. That is an area for us to look at. Even in terms of mortgages, there are people who their mortgages to buy properties out there too, but I think the message today is that let us not be afraid. Let us be confident enough to explore this opportunity. The market is open. The lenders want to lend. When you speak to the underwriter, sometimes they will help you find a way to make it work. They want to lend, and the money is there. But we have to step in and take that position. I'm going to try and share my screen. I hope I know how to do it. Some of us, we studied with slide rule. So this technology is, am I sharing my screen? Can you see my screen? Am I sharing? Am I sharing?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Am I sharing my screen?
We can see your screen, yes.
Which is, yes, that is who we are, Mortgage Financial Solutions. Our phone number is on there, the email address, info.
We can't see it. Okay, yes, now we can see it.
You can see it, yes. That is who we are. We set out to provide solutions, but ultimately a solution can only be derived at if you understand the original objective. And I say that people should spend time doing that. And let's give it a shot. Let's go for it. And let's take advantage of the opportunity. We are there to support as we go along. Thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies. And thank you, NBBF, for this opportunity. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akeju, for that nuanced presentation. And we thank you also for the benefit of your experience. We can see from your presentation that it's an experience that has gone over the years, and we're very grateful for that. Our last speaker for today will be looking at this from the legal perspective, and he's the representative of J. Benson Solicitors. I'd like to invite Mr. Stephen Akpan to please take the floor. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity given to J. Benson Solicitors to be part of this. Thank you to NBBF for this great webinar today. For myself, as a start with, I've really learned a lot today in relation to the issues of financial management, and also in relation to mortgages as well. And I'm sure other people who have joined into this webinar have also learned one or two. And then I hope it wouldn't also be a case of just hearing and not doing. I want to believe most of the people will proceed to take steps toward kind of accumulating their wealth through financial planning. Right. Having said that, I think my topic today will be on the wills and administration of estate. I think this ties in very well because when you look at it, the other speakers have really spoken about the issues of how to create wealth, especially while during your lifetime. But my one is, what do you do when you are no longer there? And that brings us to the issue of, having a will in place. So, I mean, especially from outside of culture, it's always, the issues of will is almost like a taboo subject. Nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody's scared because, like one of the speakers already mentioned, we tend to associate wills with death. It seems as if I'm going to die now. Why do I want to talk about wills? But then, in general ramifications, having a will will solve a lot of problems, especially when you are not there. And we don't want to start creating problems when we are no longer there. Hence, the need to make sure that we have a will. I'm going to proceed to share my screen, if that will be possible, so that sorry guys, I'm just trying to see if I can share my screen. Sorry, guys, I seem to be having problems here. I mean, I hope this will be resolved very shortly. All right. Hopefully, I'm sure you guys are able to see my screen now. So yeah. I've been given in the introduction, why do you actually need a will? Right. So we need a will for different purposes, for different reasons. And that is one, because one, you want to be able to detect what happened to your estate when you are no longer there. It's very important. Yeah. You don't want, especially because of our culture, our backgrounds and all that. You don't want a situation that when you are no longer there, maybe your uncles or your, people you never actually anticipated will be fighting over your estate. The second reason why we actually need a will is because we want to have the ability to govern who receive what and how much each person is entitled to. Right. Because in the end of the day, assuming you have 5 children and all that, if maybe each of your children might have different needs. And so that's one of the things you could do through your will. If you don't have a will, in that sense, you die what is called intestate, which means without a will. What then will usually happen, by law, all the children are supposed to be maybe equal entitlement. But then when you have a will, it can be a situation where you said, well, because this one you already graduated, or this one has already graduated, this one is still maybe very young. So they have different needs. In a will, you should be able to have that sort of ability to have that sort of freedom and flexibility to be able to leave something to your children depending on their needs. Also, another reason we also need a will, because we want to have the ability to cater for our children's welfare when we are no longer there. That is by way of maybe if your children are still very young or they are not up to the age of 18 or age of maturity. So what you could do is maybe you can then just set up a trust, appoint people who will be able to look after their children when you are no longer there. Right. Another reason we need a will is because through a will you can then decide how you want to be buried. Maybe you want to be buried in the UK. For some of us who live in the UK, or you want to be buried in Nigeria, so you should be able to make that decisions in your will, because what happens is, like, if you don't have a will, there could be a problem between even members of your family. Your first son could say, well, I want my father to be buried here, I want my mother to be buried here, while his second son, so a will would definitely solve such a problem. Like some of the speakers have already mentioned, a will will also ensure that you have kind of put in a very effective tax planning system in place. Do that by, maybe moving some of your money into trust or whatever, to make sure that you don't leave so much tax burden to children. I mean, if you do it legally, it's not really like tax avoidance. It's not as if you are trying to avoid paying tax, but then it's the law you're actually trying to be in compliance with the law as well. And then again, the last but not the least, one of the reasons why you want to have a will is to be able to appoint people that they call executors. Those are people who've been able to execute, run your will when you are no longer there. And I should also add there that it's very vitally very important to make sure that the people you appoint as your executors are people you trust, because you don't want somebody to do something like maybe run away with the proceeds of your estate. So always make sure you think very, very carefully about the characters of people you appoint as trustees and as executors of your will as well. All right, so we move to the next slide. This says what makes a will valid. It's vitally important to ensure that your will is valid, because if your will is not valid, then it cannot stand the test of time, especially if it's being challenged through the court. Right, so it says the testator is actually somebody who's making the will, must have the capacity to make a will. So capacity is number one ingredient in the validity of a will. Like, for instance, if somebody's having, maybe, put it this way, somebody's mentally deranged, a madman can make a will, right? So that's very important. Somebody must be able to have that sound mind, know what he's doing. He's not under any sort of creations and all that. So firstly, capacity is very important. Then the person making the will must understand what he's doing. It's not being under creation, like I said earlier on. It's not being forced to do what he's doing. Nobody's pointing a gun on him saying, well, he must do this. Especially in a kind of polygamous families, always happen, like maybe the second wife or the third, will say, well, I want you to do that, I want you to do that, put my name there, do this and all that. It's a bit of, it's kind of subtle, creations and all that. But, well, that shouldn't really be the case. It should be like a free mind. The man should be able to decide, or the woman should be able to decide what you want to do and who you want to leave whatever of his property to. Then a testator must understand the extent of his property. So when you have the capacity, you should be able to know what you have. I have one house here. I have this total amount of shares there and all those stuff. So yeah, that's another stuff that makes the will a valid will. Then most importantly is also what is called intention. So you must have intention, you must understand what you're doing. Like this, I'm making a will. So not like assuming you're trying to do something different that look like a will. It must be a will. If it is a will, it has to be a valid will, it has to be a will. Then, especially in the UK, then that will must meet the requirement of Section 9 of the Wills Act 1837, which those requirements are: one, the will must be signed and dated. The will must be the person making the will must sign that will in the presence of two other witnesses, and those two witnesses must be present while he's making that will, while he's signing it. Well, I mean, we know what happens since last year with the COVID protocols and all that, and because of that, the government has responded very effectively to make sure that that is being taken care of. So they brought in this COVID protocol, which means that rather than, I mean, in certain situations, if people are not able to meet, you can remember there was a time there was a ban on people meeting, going to visit anybody. So to deal with that, they said, well, you can actually use even video conferencing, like somebody can call somebody on video, the two people must go at the same time, and they will then see the person making the will signing the will. All right, so that is actually allowed, but that protocol I must mention, came into force on the 31st of January 2020, and is meant to valid for 2 years. The government is still looking at it, whether they still need, to like maybe extend it or, shorten it. Now that, especially in the UK now, I think the kind of COVID stuff is coming down. So government will probably want to review the situation and see what is going on, whether they still keep that protocol in place. But for now, the point that should be noted is like, for those people who are maybe there's self-isolating or shielding because of the COVID, they can still do their will. Well, what is needed is like somebody might actually stand maybe through the window or through a video call to make sure that will satisfy that provision. All right, so I then move to the next slide, that can I change my will? Well, I mean, usually you're able to change the will over a period of time. What happens like when you make a new will, that will then supersede every other will. So you can actually change your will while you're still alive. Then there's what is called codicil. Codicil basically like if you're making small changes, and not like a large scale sort of changes, you can actually use a codicil, to make those changes. Then what usually happens, like you will still have to follow the same procedure. The person making the will still signed, and it will also need to be witnessed by 2 witnesses who have to be present while that will still be signed. They must also keep in mind that if you're making those minor changes to the codicil and the main will itself must be kept together. Because usually what happens most of the time is like, when it gets to the point of executing the will, you might see the will, but you don't see the codicil. That will create a problem. So if one is having intention of, having a will and having the codicil, please make sure that the 2 important items are kept. You can leave one, in the storage, then leave one with your solid storage will. Okay. Can a will be revoked? Like I said, if you're making a new will, the old will be revoked. In some jurisdictions, like in England now, if you get married, your will will be revoked because they expect things to have changed anyway. So if you get married, they need to do a new will to take into consideration the fact that you are now, your circumstances have now changed. Now you are no longer single, you are now married. Yes, a will can also be revoked in this event of destruction, like maybe intentionally just burn it off and stuff. That's another way of destroying the will. You don't want it to be in existence anymore. All right, so we move to the next slide, say, can I make a joint will? A joint will is a situation where maybe husband and wife, like, when they have like joint property, like you can own a house jointly, yourself and your wife. But generally, having a joint will is not usually advisable. The reason being that, when the other person dies, you always create a bit of problems. So it's always good to have, will done individually. Your wife can have a different will done, the husband can have a different. Couple should be able to have, a will separate done to avoid those sort of challenges, those sort of logistical challenges when one person is no longer there. All right. Then this also talk about it is impossible for the surviving spouse to change the will. That's what I've already said already. Then we said the problem with this is that the will remain as it were, and the survivor partner won't be able to change the will to reflect changing circumstances. I've mentioned that already. So that is always the problem, which makes it more advisable to have a will that is drawn up for both, one for each of the spouses. All right. Then to move to the next slide. It says which asset cannot pass into the estate and therefore cannot be included in the will. Well, like you might actually think about that, certain assets or items that cannot actually be included in a will. All right. So all assets which pass by the deceased will or even by way of intestacy rules are referred to as the person's succession estate. The succession estate passes into the hands of the deceased personal PL. These are the people responsible for administering the will. So it said these are some of the items that cannot be included when you're writing a will, making a will. One of it is property that is held as joint tenant. Obviously, because you will understand that because it's not only you that owns the property, so you cannot actually just pass that on. Most items, by law, most items are owned, especially like the property that is owned as a joint tenant, what happens, like the rule of survivorship will take place, which means that when the other person dies, their property returns 100% to the surviving part, and therefore you cannot include such a destiny in a will. The other item that you can actually include in a will is what is called insurance policies written in trust. That is because when you check out insurance policies written in trust, mostly you must have nominated somebody you want that insurance policy to go to if you're no longer there. So therefore, it's not something you can also include in a will as well. The other items is we have pension benefit. You can include that as well, because what happens in pensions is that when you die, that stops. You can't. When I just said, but your pension ends when you die as well. Then we got the other items that I mentioned: the statutory nominations, the national and trust entitlement. We're giving explanations of all those items in the next slide. So if you want to, gain more knowledge on that, you can actually go into the next slide. All those things are quite explained there. All right. So the next slide says the role of beneficiaries and executors. Well, we understand in a will there must be beneficiaries and there must also be executors. Beneficiaries are actually people that will benefit in the will. Those are the people that are mentioned in the will. Those are people, the items of the estate that have been left to. Where the executors are actually people who would execute the will. So he said beneficiaries, he said those entitled to benefit under the will, you cannot be both a witness and a beneficiary of the will, simply because you don't want this to sound as if you influence the will. So if you are a beneficiary of the will, you cannot witness the will. That is very, very important. Otherwise, that will not be valid. Okay. Right. I think I mentioned it before. I said be wise in your choice of executors. They will have full responsibility of distributing the estate. I think that's really very important. You don't want to, nominate people with dodgy characters to be the one who will be administering your estate. You want to leave that to people you trust. Very important. Then the executors on the other part, those responsible for distributing the estate in accordance with the will. Executors must ensure that all debts as well as funeral costs have been paid before. Well, anyway, that seems to be the standard practice anyway. I mean, when you leave a will, all your debt must be paid first before that the remaining part, which is called residue, can then be shared to the beneficiaries. So if you're like an executors and you don't do that, you might potentially face some legal actions. All right, so the next slide, it said, what happens if I don't leave a will? Well, it's very simple. If you don't leave a will and you die, then your estate will be shared in line with interstate law, which means, the government, set up a kind of rules where people, the estate of people that died without a will is distributed. But I'm sure you don't want to have that kind of experience. Because like this particular story of a man in London who had a big house in Highgate, about 2.5 million, and because he didn't have a will and nobody actually knew they had a house anyway. Sometimes we probably think we are doing something smart. So this guy had a Chinese. What's called like housekeeper and all that. And when this man died and realizes that there was no will and nobody was coming for the property, the housekeeper just had to change the document and applied for the property to inherit the property. So I find that very appalling. It's not any situation somebody wants to find himself. So it's vitally very important that at least we make sure that we have a will. So then again, so if you have family members, for instance, and you didn't have any will, so what happened? Like I said, your estate will be distributed in line with with government guidelines and all that. But what happened if you don't have a family? What happened if you don't have a family? Like the speakers rightly said. So you maybe do all this work, try to build up your portfolio, your wealth portfolio and all those stuff, harvested, buy this, do a mortgage and all that. Assume you don't have a family. The law says your estate will now go back to the state. And, that is very disheartening. So everything you labor for, everything you work for will now go back to the state. So he said, if you don't have a family, your estate will go to the crown. Crown is the state in the UK. That's everything you work for during your lifetime will not be distributed in accordance with your riches. That will be very important. And I guess I should just, chip in this, because we always believe that, like I said, it's almost like a taboo topic, or we believe that will should be made by older people, but that shouldn't really be the case. Anybody over 18 years of age is by law eligible to, have a will. Will can always be amended, and amended as time progresses. But I think it's vitally important for one to have a will. I think maybe we just need to create more awareness, and I guess that's why Jay Benson is part of this webinar today. We need to create more awareness and try to make people to see the need to have a will. It's vitally important. We are the Jay Benson solicitors. We have the expertise. We've done so many wills. I can bet you that. So if you need our services, please, we have details on there. Jay Benson solicitor, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or wherever. And then we'll be very much happy to give whatever assistance. Anyway, so continuing with the slides, it says it is important that the original will is stored. What I just did. Then the next slide, you see. Okay. Wow, well, the next slide just kind of give more further information on the intestacy will that I spoke about. If you don't have a will, what happened? And you just if you want more information, please, refer to that particular slide. If you have a will, if you have children, talk about what, and if you don't have that, then it goes back to this. Then there's a slide. They said, what if I want to leave a will in Nigeria? Well, I think basically because of the similarity between the jurisdictions between Nigeria and the UK, I think the concept of will or the eligibility or what makes it to be valid tend to be very, very similar between what is obtainable in Nigeria and also in the UK. So the will must be, for a will to be valid, same thing, the person making the will must have a sound mind, must be over 18 years, and all that. Okay, and then I think the next, just talk about the types of wills in Nigeria. I mentioned there, please refer to that slide if you want more information on that, but I don't think that is actually very important. What is important is you must have a will. Then talk about the limitations of having a will in Nigeria. As expected, because of the cultural peculiarities to Nigeria, we have some kind of customary limitations, and we have some statutory limitations as well as some religious limitations. So if you want more of that information, please refer to that particular slide. Refer to that slide, and I think this should be my final slide. It said, can I challenge a will in Nigeria? Yeah, you can challenge a will. One, if the will was not validly made, and that's I've kind of listed out some of the what you expect to see in a validly made will, and we can't really emphasize enough on this. A will must be validly made, otherwise it cannot stand any scrutiny, especially in the court, because you can never actually anticipate, even though when within your own children, you don't know what will happen. You can actually say what will happen in 20, 30 years, especially when people become adult. They have their own lives to live. They live their independent lives. So a will must be validly made, in line with the law. It's always very important. I know people might say, well, just go and buy now, especially in the UK, now they actually sell wills in maybe HWS Smith and the rest of them. But I always say to people, you know what, it's always good to seek legal advice to make sure that at least the will is properly done, to make sure it's valid and there will not be any problem and it can actually stand any challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, that seemed to be the end of my presentation. And like I said, our information are there. J. Benson Solicitors. We have office here in London and also in Nigeria. Please contact us if you want any information on making your wills and any making your will, especially here in the UK and in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akpan, for that very professional presentation. We're very grateful for your participation. I want to take this opportunity to thank all our speakers, Mr. Arikawe, Dr. Oke, Mr. Akeju, and finally, on behalf of Juliet Benson Solicitors, Mr. Akpan. If there are any questions, and this is the time for us to ask the questions, we have about 15 to 20 minutes to take questions. If there are any questions on the, if there have been any questions that we put on the platform, I'll read them out. But if you have any questions, this is an opportunity for you to ask. So the floor is open.
Mr. Adisaki, my name is Oke.
Okay, my apologies. My apologies. I was going to ask at the beginning. Sorry, Dr. Oke. So
accepted.
If there are any questions, the floor is open. Please, the speakers are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much. While we're waiting for questions, there might be one or two questions that we may have. I will invite our host, Prince Afolabi Andu, to speak to us for about a minute or two. Prince Andu, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I sincerely hope you have found the seminar as useful as I found it. Seminar is very much in line with our aims and objectives. Create a platform where our members can add value, sharing their expertise. We have outlined for this year a monthly program designed to keep adding value to our target audience. As I just conclude this very brief statement, I'd like to use this opportunity to thank a brilliant moderator, Mr. Bola Adeshaki. Thank you very much for the art that you always bring to this kind of sessions. Let me also extend my appreciation to our speakers. Mr. Niyi Arikawe, Principal, Amable Financial Services. Mrs. Juliet Benson, ably represented by Mr. Stephen Akpan. We're really grateful for the quality presentation you made this evening. Mr. Ade Akeju, CEO, Mortgage Financial Solutions. Experience spoke all the way through. We're grateful. And dear speaker number 4, Dr. Seun Oke, Financial Advisor, Insure Limited. Thank you so much for such an insightful session. I'd also like to acknowledge the members of Postview Television and SIBA Technologies, whose role has been quite pivotal in enabling us to have the program streamed live on a good number of channels this evening. Thank everyone that has taken time out to be on this platform this evening. I wish you all well and good evening. Over to you, the moderator.
Thank you very much once again, Prince Andu. Once again, we would like to invite questions. Our speakers are available to answer your questions. If you have any questions at all, please just ask away. As I said, we're here till about 6:45 or 10 minutes to 7. So if you have any questions, please, the floor is yours. I'd like to also take this opportunity to appeal to our members. Please, it's important that we take advantage of our professionals. A lot of the times we kind of don't think our professionals are important. And as from what we've heard this evening, it's the tiny things that we overlook that sometimes gets us into trouble. For those of us who have been in this country for over 30 years, and we've been burned once or twice, we understand what that means. So it's important that we take advantage of forums like this to make good use of the advice our professionals give us. And rather than go outside to look for other professionals, our own professionals from our ethnic background are, if not twice as good as the people we'll have out there, are very good at the advice that they will give. So please, I'll implore you to please take advantage of our lawyers, our bankers, our financial advisors who are there to give you good advice on what needs to be done. As Mr. Akeju said earlier, we are moving into the second generation of our people who have made the UK their home. So let's make use of them and build the Nigerian economy in the UK to make us, compete with other ethnic groups in this country. Thank you very much. Any questions, please? Oh, sorry. There's a question from Miss Dr. Johnson. Dr. Johnson has a question.
Yes.
Please.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me? I'm driving. Can you hear me? I'm driving. Can you hear me?
Can. Yes, we can.
Thank you for the wonderful talk. I was a bit late because I'm working, so I missed this question. If I want to buy a buy-to-let property, can I put my children as co-owners, even though they're not yet working? Is it possible? Since I'm getting old, and to hopefully help reduce the tax liability or inheritance tax. Is that possible? Thank you.
There are two parts to that question. There's the legal part and there's the financial part. Now the question would be whether your children will be able to take out a mortgage unless you are buying cash. But the question as to the mortgage, I think our financial professionals should be able to answer that. And on the legal side, Mr. Akpan should be able to help us with that.
You go first.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that's a very valid question. I mean, you can do a joint mortgage for a buy-to-let. Now, you said you're not working, so if you are working, it all depends. Some lender, when it comes to a buy-to-let, first of all, the rental income becomes very pivotal in terms of what it can give to you as, for a mortgage. And some require one to be working on, so it all depends on what the age is, and if they're not working, if you are working, so it's going to be a lender that will not require a minimum income, or again, that will require an income that will cover that criteria. And also, if you're going to buy either as individual, you are buying it, through a limited company, which again, there have to be both directors on the mortgage for most lenders.
Okay, sorry, Lee, I'm sure you can't remember my old friend. No, I mean, I am working, but they are not yet working. They're still in university.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
But can they be joint owners of the property?
So for some lenders, that could be alive. You are still working, they are not working. For some, they require both to be working, so it all depends, but it's not impossible. That can be looked at. And again, if you are buying either as an individual or even through a limited company, that can also be reviewed. But again, just that in this case, if you limited company, they are both to be board directors at times to be on the mortgage. That's what you find in most of these transactions nowadays.
Thank you very much.
The other point, another point to consider. Are you there? Another point to consider is why are you putting your children on there? Again, what we do must have a reason. Can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Yes.
I think it's also important to understand why you want to do that. And what
eventually it will be theirs. I'm getting old, I'm older.
Yes, yes.
It will be theirs eventually.
Yes, there are many ways to look at that. If your objective is to be able to transfer that to them, then it may be worth exploring legal ways to do that without even taking a mortgage. The other thing to consider when you put your children on a mortgage is that in some instances they lose their first-time buyer status, and that can be instrumental in them building their own life. So I would suggest you ask what is the real purpose of putting them on. Yes, you can put them on as joint borrower, shared owner type of schemes that lenders are doing now. For example, somebody may not have enough income and use their mother as a part on the mortgage. So that is possible. But I think what is key is to determine the purpose of that. And then there may be other ways to arrive at that without jeopardizing the opportunities open to that child when they want to take on their own life plan, if you like. But I guess
so much.
It depends on the specific circumstance.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Akpan, is there anything you want to add on the legal side?
All right. Yeah, thank you so much for that question. Yeah, I mean, on the legal side of things, I think it's pretty easy and simple. I mean, the law allows for what is called joint ownership, while the other side is tenancy in common. So what usually happens in these situations, like if the buyers of the property is more than one person, then up to 4 persons can be, can do as a joint. The joint tenancy cannot be more than 4 persons. So if you have, well, let's say more than 4 children, for instance, the 4 of them can be 3 plus you can be joint tenants, while the other one would have what is called ownership in equity. Obviously, it will still be part of it, but there will be in equity. But 4 persons can be on the tier 1, right? On the transfer of the property. 4 of them can be joint owners of the property. That's on the legal side of it. But is that clear?
Thank you very much. Yes, it is. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I hope you're planning to buy for each of the children too.
Okay. I will now take this opportunity to round up. I must add something to what Mr. Akpan said to Dr. Johnson. As long as the children are over 18, of course, they can also hold property because minors are unable to enter contracts. But once that is required, of course, you'll be able to get full advice if you want your children to hold property jointly with you. But apart from that, I would like to take this opportunity once again to say thank you to our speakers, Mr. Akeju, Dr. Oke, Mr. Arikawe, Mr. Akpan of Gilbert Benson Solicitors. It's been a wonderful session. I hope this will be the first of many. Again, our members should feel free to, of course, contact the speakers should they want to get much more advice regarding their financial matters and their legal matters. As I said earlier, it is very, very important that we make use of our professionals. We live in a country of laws. We live in a country of rules and regulations. And every week, every month, if not every week, the rules change. So it is important that we get in touch with our professionals as often as possible when we want to take big steps. I hope this has been of great benefit to you. Thank you very much for taking part. I also want to thank the hosts, Prince Afolabi Andu, for just making use of his platform to educate us on matters such as this. Once again, thank you very much, and God bless you all. I'll just hand over to Prince Afolabi Andu to just close for us.
I think we're done. All I can say again is thank you very much to everyone, and have a great evening. Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you all. God bless.
Bye. Thank you all.
Bye.
Go and book your free consultation, and I'll be happy to look at it.